Welcome to the Right Academy. I'm Matthew R. Miller. Today, I would like to talk about prepositions, prepositional phrases, and subject-verb agreement, and they all go together. Now, before I start, someone mentioned in the comments, it would be nice for me to have a whiteboard and write some examples and write the stuff I'm saying. I totally agree. The problem is right now, I have a little cramped kind of area here, and until I can set up a really nice studio that is really good for this kind of grammar and writing, teaching and stuff, then what I'm going to do is use on-screen titles to kind of substitute. So I'm going to take care of that. Believe me, I agree. I'd like a nice microphone, a nice soundproof studio, a lot of different stuff. But until I reach that point, I'm going to have to make do. And so what I'll do is use on-screen text to kind of mimic a whiteboard. So I hope that's okay for now. Thanks for the comment, by the way. Okay, let's talk about prepositions. Prepositions. This is a word that strikes fear in the heart of many people because prepositions can seem confusing. The reason is that the way they're taught in school is, I don't think, the best way. You might think about this. A preposition is a word that shows position. Okay, it can be, for example, the mohawk is on the head, on, right? Or the book is under the table, under. I've thought for years about a good definition of prepositions that is simpler than that. And here's what I've come up with. A preposition is a word that shows the relationship between two nouns or pronouns or gerunds. Now, that sounds complicated. Let's break it down. Prepositions most of them are one word. Some of them are two words, three words. For example, the book is below the table. Below is one word. However, the book is to the left of the table. To the left of is four words. So it's a word or sometimes a group of words. And its function is to show you how two nouns, pronouns, or gerunds are related. Noun, person, place, thing, or idea. Pronoun, he, she, it, you, we, they. Gerund is a verb plus ing. Reading, running, writing. Okay. How many prepositions does English have? I don't know. A lot. Probably over 100, maybe even more than that, hundreds. And it's impossible to memorize a list that long. I guess not impossible, but it's unreasonable to memorize a list of hundreds of words. So learn to recognize prepositions because they will appear in certain ways. They're going to appear between or next to nouns, pronouns, and gerunds. Let me give you some examples of some prepositions in English, some common ones. Ahead of, except for, next to, under, besides, in favor of, far from, in case, across from, to, with, of. There's a ton of them, okay? So don't think about them just as positional. Some are positional, okay? The examples I gave you, on, under, beside, far away from or far from, near, next to the left of, to the right of. Those are positional. But think about this. What if I were to say, what is the meaning of life? Meaning, there's a gerund. Life, there's a noun. Between them is the word of. There's our preposition, okay? Now, this of is not positional. The meaning of life, there's not a physical thing called meaning in life where I can just take two objects and say, look, it's above it. It's abstract, right? The meaning of life. Or let's say the feelings you get from love. Feelings from love. From is abstract. So some will be abstract, some will be physical, some will be relational, but they all have that in common. They show the relationship between two nouns, pronouns, or gerunds, ing words. Okay. Now, prepositions, they're useful because there's so many of them, you can be very precise in the meaning of them. But there's one way in which they appear that sometimes can cause a little bit of a stumbling block for new writers. And that is prepositional phrases. Now, prepositional phrase, like the word might indicate, is a phrase using a preposition. A phrase is like a clause, just a group of words that are related. Think about it that way. A prepositional phrase works like this. You have a preposition, and you have the object of the preposition. The preposition is the preposition, right? Of, to, from, whatever. The object of the preposition will be a noun, a pronoun, or a gerund. Okay? As we know, we just said that. The object of the preposition is the noun, pronoun, gerund in the phrase of the preposition. Let me give you some examples. Let's just use a simple one. On my desk. Okay. On is the preposition. Desk is the noun, so it's the object of the preposition. Now, there might be other words thrown in there too. The, or on the desk, on my desk, on the giant wooden desk, but somewhere in there is going to be a preposition. There's going to be a noun, pronoun, or gerund that's the object of the preposition. Okay, this is important because when you're looking for the subject of a sentence, what is the subject? It's the who or the what that's doing something. An object cannot be a subject. They're different things, right? So because the prepositional phrase has an object in it, you will never find the subject of the sentence in that prepositional phrase. You'll also never find the main verb in that prepositional phrase. That means that a prepositional phrase by itself can never be a complete sentence, right? Think about it. So I live in this apartment. Next to my apartment is my neighbor's apartment. My apartment, right next to neighbor's apartment, there's our preposition, next to, shows a relationship between this apartment and that apartment. But by itself, if I just say next to my neighbor's apartment and stop, that's not a complete sentence, right? So the subject of the sentence, the main verb of the sentence, will never be found in the prepositional phrase. You might be thinking, okay, great, that's grammatical knowledge, thanks, but so what? Let me show you why it matters in a practical sense. In English, we have subject-verb agreement. Not every language has this. Some languages have it more than we do. But basically, let's think about the simple verb to be, is and are, okay? He is my friend, they are my friends. If the subject is singular, we use is. Plural, we use are, okay? And then in all other verbs, singular, you add an S. Think about it. He runs to school every day. Plural, you don't. They run to school every day. So, is are, singular is, plural are. Every other verb, add an S for the singular. He runs. No S for the plural. They run. It's a lot of stuff coming into this video, but here's why. Here's the bottom line. You're going to encounter situations where it's very tempting to say that the object of the prepositional phrase is actually the subject of the sentence when it's not. Example. Apartments in this city, blank expensive. Is that is or are? Now, it's very tempting to say city. Okay, city is singular. It's right next to the verb, so city is, right? But the subject of the phrase of the sentence is not city. It's apartments. In this city is a prepositional phrase. So to say apartments in this city is expensive is wrong. You have to match the verb with apartments, plural. Apartments in this city are expensive. Here's another example. A box of warm winter clothing, blank, delivered to the shelter. Okay. Box is singular, it's a noun. Sweaters is plural, it's a noun. Which one is the subject of the sentence? It's tempting to see sweaters and say, oh, sweaters, okay, plural. So what we're going to say here, a box of warm sweaters was delivered or a box of warm sweaters were delivered? Is it singular or plural? Okay. It's tempting to say sweaters were because it's right next to the verb. But of the sweaters, of warm sweaters is a prepositional phrase. So the subject can't be in that. So the subject is actually box. So a box of sweaters was delivered. I hope you can see what I'm getting at here, that when you have the subject prepositional phrase, the verb has to match the subject, not the prepositional phrase. The leaves on that tree, blank, turning orange. Do we say the leaves on that tree is turning orange or the leaves on that tree are turning orange? All right. Well, tree is right next to the verb. It's very tempting to say tree singular, so tree is. On that tree is a prepositional phrase. So the subject is actually the leaves. So the leaves are turning orange, okay? What you need to do in these situations is to eliminate your prepositional phrases. What you're left with, somewhere in there, is going to be the subject and verb of the sentence. So you can have a long sentence, but what you want to do is, okay, in your mind or literally on paper, cross out the prepositional phrases. Now it's much easier to find the subject of the sentence. Why does it matter? Because you as a writer, okay, you want to communicate clearly and distinct and succinctly. You want your reader to understand what you're saying, but also you want to write well, okay? And if you have the wrong subject-verb agreement because you think the object of the preposition is really the subject of the sentence, well, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to make the writing seem confused and, not, well, anytime you come across grammatical problems when you're reading, it just doesn't sound right. Even if you don't know why, if you don't know why it's is versus are, if you don't know what a preposition is, doesn't matter. It's going to sound wrong. If you're a native speaker of a language, you hear something that's wrong, okay, that's not said the way it's usually said, it's going to be glaring, it's going to be jarring, it's going to catch your attention, and it's going to ultimately distract you from that book. Remember, what we want is our readers to be immersed in the book. Okay, so if you're saying things like, the houses along Main Street has pretty yards, something doesn't sound right. I'm not sure why that's the case. Now, we know it's because Main Street, singular, but that's the object of the preposition along. So the real subject is houses, not Main Street. So it should be the houses have well-kept, beautiful yards. But the reader's going to see the houses along Main Street has beautiful yards if you make that mistake, and they're going to think, I don't know why that's wrong, but it sounds wrong. And then if those mistakes pile up, well, the book's going to become irritating. And think about it. Every time the reader has to stop and say, that doesn't sound right, or I'm confused, what's the subject of this sentence? Then you're drawing them out of that immersion, and that's what you don't want to do. You want the reader to stay immersed in your story as long and as deep as possible. Right? So let's do a quick review. Preposition is a word that shows the relationship between two nouns, pronouns, or gerunds. Prepositions can be 1 word, 2 words, 3 words, 4 words. I don't know if we have any 5-word prepositions on the other side of, yeah, I guess we do. 6, I don't know. Okay. A prepositional phrase is a group of words where we have a preposition and its object. The object will be a noun, a pronoun, or a gerund. That object of the prepositional phrase can never be the subject of the sentence. So as you're writing the verb to match the subject of the sentence, whether you have that S or you don't, whether you have is or are, you need to make sure it matches the real subject of the sentence, not the object of the preposition. Okay, it's really not that, using all these grammatical terms makes it sound complicated, but it's really not that complicated. Think about it. The bush of roses, blank, beautiful. Looks or look beautiful? Is it the bush of roses look? Because roses is plural? No, it's the bush of roses looks, because it's the bush that's the subject. See, this is really what we're dealing with. It's not as difficult as it seems if you just kind of think about it that way. So I hope that helps. I hope this grammar helps, and I am working on getting a studio set up with a whiteboard, a little better system here. But until then, I hope the on-screen text can be beneficial, and I appreciate your watching this. If you have any requests for videos, put them in the comments. I'll make a video about it. It's still a small channel. You want it, I'll make it. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'm Matthew R. Miller, and this is the Right Academy.